I remember as if it were yesterday, when my father taught me to play that. He only said that we needed to go into the closet, close the door and make sure it's dark, close our eyes and think about a completely different world, the opposite in which we are living, a place that will not have sadness, fights, diseases. Basically, it's the reverse of ours. Dad always did this when it was dinner time and there was no food on the table, or he would ask me to make it with my younger brother when I started arguing with my mother. A long time ago, the name of the game was A Happy Place. Now, I'm an adult, married to a slightly younger woman. Our relationship has always been stable. It had its ups and downs. The problem was that after many years of living with her, the lows will prevail, leaving our union a complete disgrace. We didn't sleep together anymore. The only thing that connected our marriage was our son, Daniel, who is now 8. We were invited to a party at the neighbor's house, and we drank a little. In the midst of the effect of alcohol, we slept together after a long time. After a few days, she said she was pregnant. It was a surprise to me. Even more, I know that she did not want another child. Soon, at the first examinations, the doctors said that our son could have some health problems. When he was born, I was already sure that our son would not last long. The doctors said it was a miracle he was born. Well, this is where things got a little weird. I was in the acceptance phase of my baby's condition, and the various words from the doctors saying he wouldn't last long. However, my wife carried a smile on her face. Something in that child made my companion happy, as if she had a reason to live, dedicating herself 100% to our son. In addition to health problems, the baby has to eat certain types of food, even if feeding very little. Daniel, my oldest son, was very fond of him. Speaking in this way, it does not mean that I despise my child. It is only an observation regarding this moment in our lives. One of the things that bothered me, maybe the only thing, was the fact that he didn't sleep. He would stay up all night, crying, wanting attention, and my wife would stay up all night with him, carrying our fruit in his arms, walking with that little thing all over the house, all done. It was evident that our Daniel could no longer bear to see that suffering. I had to do something to try to comfort my older boy. I taught him the happy place game. I put him in the closet, sat down next to him, closed the door, told him to close his eyes and think of a place unlike our home, a happy place. I explained that you should imagine where your brother is healthy, your mother is happy, and do not quarrel with me. We stood for a few minutes in the dark, just listening to our breathing. When I opened the door, I saw that my boy was smiling. It seemed that everything had improved. It just seemed. I was surprised by the screams of my wife calling me. I went to meet him and saw our son motionless, pale, and not breathing. We took him to the doctor, and arriving there, they said that, after much suffering, he finally died. My wife burst into tears, and I tried to show sadness, but I hoped for it. So far, I haven't said anything to my eldest son. At the time of your little brother's burial, I told you that the baby had died. Daniel was sad, but it didn't take long for him to accept. Things got messy inside our house, because my wife was complaining all the time and always making an excuse to fight with me as if I was to blame for something. She barely gave our son affection. It seemed as if she had never existed. She just kept thinking about that fruit, even though she knew that he suffered a lot during those months when he was alive, but he denied these things and began to hate me in every way. I couldn't sleep that night. Our last fight was very ugly, and I needed to relax. I remembered the happy place. I went into the closet of my son's room when he was asleep. I closed my eyes and imagined a place inside out. A life in which we were happy. I stayed for a long time and ended up napping. I woke up and came out of the closet. Soon, I noticed something different. The house was completely strange. The clothes on my body were changed, since the white t-shirt and my pink shorts were the opposite colors. The door handle was in the wrong place. I started walking into our house and found my son, his back to me in the hallway. When I put my hand on his shoulder, telling him to lie down, he looked at me. That wasn't my son. It was a horrible thing. His face was disfigured just like those people in the movie The Calling. I fell, screaming, and afraid. In the hallway, my wife appeared and she was different, smiling at me. I didn't know what was happening. I went back to my son's room and locked the door. I knew there was something strange about it, something to do with the happy place joke. Then, I went into the closet again and wished everything was a dream, and then, I went back to the room. My child was sleeping and everything seemed normal. Before it was as if I had entered a nightmare. After that day, I never thought about playing Happy Place again and told my son not to play anymore. I remember coming home, going into my room and calling my son. Daniel did not answer. I went to his room and saw him coming out of the closet with my wife. She was smiling. I was confused, and Daniel also smiled, looking happy. She knew what was going on, and it seems that my father's strange little game worked for her. Things looked good, until... well, my wife got completely paranoid, saying I was in the wrong place and we needed to go to the happy place. She was in the closet in my son's room almost every day, and he was with her a lot of the time, feeding her the madness they created. All because of me. Sometimes she could hear a baby's laughter very softly, and at that point she could imagine how completely she had lost her mind imitating a child. We were having dinner, when she started repeating the usual things that we were in the wrong place. The blood rose to my head. I was already stuck with all this. I dropped the spoon that was eating the soup. Our son stared at us. It was the first time I yelled at my wife, saying the things she needed to know, saying I should accept the fucking death of our son. I don't know what got into me. I approached my son to apologize and something strong hit my head. My wife had tied my arms and legs and told me everything would be fine. She dragged my body and that of my son who lay unconscious, with blood pouring from his head. That woman looked crazy, much worse than she already was. A whiff of alcohol lingered in the air. She said it would end this wrong reality, according to her, that we were living. Like a hallucination, she dragged my son's body into the closet and dragged me too. I tried to fight, but it didn't help. The strong smell of gasoline was getting worse, until she came into the room bringing a pile of gasoline, then bathed my son and me. I couldn't scream for help because my mouth was gagged. I tried to fight, but it was no use. She poured gasoline on her own body and said that everything would be fine. He closed the closet door. The smell of alcohol was very strong, making me drunk. Sitting next to my son and I, my wife lit the lighter, and a loud explosion. I woke up a little dazed and gave a loud scream, as I could still smell gasoline. I heard my wife talking in the kitchen, my son's smile, and a strange thing. You could also hear the laughter of a young child. I approached the kitchen and saw my wife with dark skin, gray eyes looking like a monster with a deformed face. My son also in the same way, and she was holding a child. Our son who had passed away. I tried to run, but when I put my hand on the door handle, it was in the wrong place.